In the past episodes, we met Minnie, who was swooped up by a cotton farmer named Mr. Green when it seemed she was doomed to be an old maid. We've read the stories of how she grew a family and weathered the storms of life on the farm. Her twin boys, Joe and Jack, are now all grown up. Jack stayed back to help on the farm, and Joe's decided to become a doctor. Now Joe's found love, smitten by a pretty little nurse named Mara Rogers, with the nickname of Petty. I kissed the nectar from her lips as under the moon we sat, and wondered if there was e'er a man had drunk from a mug like that. It was the summer of 1946. Young medical student Joe Green didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. But that didn't matter one bit. He'd found himself a sweetheart, and together they made plans to live on love. Joe had been smitten with a pretty nurse in training called Petty. Family lore tells a funny story about Petty's real name. When she was born to Johnny and Ada Rogers, her 4 older sisters, Marie, Maxie, Mildred, and Mabel, clamored to name their new sister. Would she be Mara, or Lee, or Etta, or Kathleen? Her mother made a bold choice. Keep all 4 names. As she grew, she became the favored pet of the family, doted on by her brothers and sisters, and so they simply dropped all her names, Mara Lee Etta Kathleen Rogers, and just called her Petty. On August 4th, 1946, Joe Green married Mara Lee Etta Kathleen Rogers, who didn't use any of her names except on her nurse's name tag. They headed to the Justice of the Peace as soon as her nurse's pinning ceremony was over and got hitched. Just like that, she became Mrs. Green. Love can bloom in the most unexpected ways. First comes love, then comes marriage, and then came the nurse with the baby carriage. The honeymoon was sweet, and Beverly Suzanne arrived in November of 1947. Joe, the new daddy, graduated and now was Dr. Joe E. Green, with the E on the end. Dr. Daddy and Mommy Nurse took their little Suzanne and moved on to Atlanta, Georgia, where Joe began his residency at the local hospital. In March 1950, Roger Allen came hollering into this world at 9 pounds and 2 ounces. He was about 3 times the size that his daddy had been. 5 in a row. The next generation of Greens came popping out as fast as kernels in a hot kettle, as had the generation before. 5 little ones were born to Joe and Petty in a span of 7 years. Beverly Suzanne, Roger Allen, Philip Rodney, Stephen Forrest, and Joseph Scott. Babies are such a nice way to start, people. Silence is golden unless you have children. Then silence is just plain suspicious. Mayhem in a household starts with the little ones. Turn around and someone is into something somewhere, and more than half the time, it's mischief-making. More times than not, if little Roger was left unattended while Mommy was busy in another room with household business, she'd come back to find things in disarray. One day, she found Roger creating a white sand pile. The extra-large 10-pound box of Tide detergent was pulled off the counter, and there was Roger, playing right in the middle of it all. Mommy called the office asking for Dr. Daddy. "Joe," she said, exasperated on the telephone, "you won't believe what Roger's done now." She told him of the mischief and mess and asked, "Should I give him a good paddling, or do you want to do it when you get home?" Joe replied calmly, "Just pick him up, brush him off, and kiss his cheeks. Then put him down and get the broom and clean it up. It's just detergent." Roger was an all-American boy who loved to play cowboys and Indians or cops and robbers with his 3 younger brothers as his partners in crime. The Lone Ranger was his hero. Roger and his brothers had boxing matches with the living room as their ring. Daddy and Mommy had ringside seats on the sofa along with Sister Suzanne, who wouldn't have dared get into the middle of things in case of messing up her pin curls and petticoat. The boys loved the outdoors, and the first snow of the year was always the best. The grass would disappear under blankets of white, signaling the time to drag out the sleds. Mommy made sure they each were buttoned up in woolly winter coats and warm hats, the kind with the furry flaps to cover their ears and straps to snap under their chins. Daddy sledded down the snowy hills around their home in West Virginia with his bundle of boys, just like a kid. The sledding was grand for the 4 little Green brothers, and besides, they had a prissy big sister to taunt with snowballs. Suzanne, being the only girl, got the choice spot of sitting on the sled with her daddy and was in charge of hanging tight to Scotty, who was the littlest of the 5. A father is someone you look up to, no matter how tall you may grow. Boys will be boys, and keeping tabs on them can be a challenge. Brush your teeth, comb your hair, wash behind your ears, wipe your feet, keep your elbows off the table, eat your vegetables, use your napkin, not your sleeve. Don't say ain't. Come down out of that tree. Don't go so fast. The weeks and months go round, and suddenly they're grown. Of course, Daddy was there to help keep the boys in line if need be. One day, 9-year-old Suzanne was helping Mommy iron the last of the boys' shirts. They had all been scrubbed behind their ears and were off to town to get their pictures made. The boys had strict orders to not get dirty until their new outfits were ready to put on. When Suzanne looked up from her pressing and peered out the window, she saw that Roger and Philip had Scotty and Stevie inside the wicker laundry baskets, trying to float them in the pond. Really, just a large puddle in the yard made by the heavy rainfall the night before. They all got a licking. At times, Joe thought of more creative ways to teach his boys a lesson. He smoked a long, curved pipe, and he also enjoyed cigars. In years to come, when the grandsons wanted to smoke a pipe to be like Grandpa, he quit. But his remedy for his sons wanting to be like him was a bit different. One day, he brought home chewing tobacco, corncob pipes, and pipe tobacco. He took the boys to the backyard and told them to go at it. They tell the tale. Stevie seemed to have the most flair for it, smoking and chewing and spitting like an old codger. Roger and Philip felt quite grown up, taking their turns at puffing and chewing. The only thing Joe forgot to mention to the boys was not to swallow the tobacco juice. Since they were all outside, it spared Mommy the messy cleanup when the boys soon began puking in the bushes and grass. Smoking and chewing wasn't a problem for several years among the Green boys. Roger's Mommy kept getting whiffs of something smelly in his room. He didn't seem to notice until she reminded him and kept asking about it. The smell got so bad that she went in to really investigate and do some deep cleaning. She cleaned the room over and over, but couldn't get rid of that increasingly rank odor. During the search for the stink, she got an extra strong whiff near his chest of drawers. After dumping out his underwear drawer, Mommy discovered the culprits. A family of turtles was found hiding under his undies. The rank odor mysteriously disappeared once the stowaways were rehomed. Sammy was the family cat, but Roger claimed her. Black as tar from head to tail, Sammy enjoyed the warmth and coziness of Roger's bed. One morning, Mommy came in to get Roger up for school. When she pulled back his covers, she discovered Sammy had birthed her kittens right there while Roger slept through it all. The bed linens were changed, even though it wasn't on the list of house chores for that day.